Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Club. This is the place everyday real estate investors gather to share their best stories, biggest insights, and favorite tactics to grow a portfolio of cash flowing properties in today's market. Here's your host, Gabe Peterson.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. As always, bringing you guys that Friday energy here. I hope you guys are having a good day, whatever day you're listening to this. It is going to be a good episode because we got a twofer. We don't often have twofers here, but when we do, I enjoy the dance of trying to figure out who speaks next. Today, we got Tyler Jordan and Martin Papp with us from the Nova House. They do luxury short-term rentals out of country. So this is going to be an interesting episode for all you guys who want to buy that coastal, short-term rental out there in Costa Rica or wherever you want to invest. This is the episode for you. I'm super excited to jump into this. Tyler, Martin, thanks for hopping on the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Appreciate it. Very excited.
All right. I told you guys both before we got on here, we always start with stories. So I'm going to hand it over to you guys. Tell us how you got started. Martin, we're going to start with you. How'd you get started in real estate?
Definitely. My story is a bit longer, but I think it's worth telling. I was going to college in upstate New York, graduated in 2008. So this isn't the best time to be,
That's when I graduated.
Yeah. Oh, so we're both like 37, 38?
I heard that we actually were the worst. It was either 2008 or 2009 was literally the worst time to graduate college. I can't remember how many, like 50 years or something like that. The job opportunities were zero.
Well, you're spot on the money. And it's actually what propelled me to it shaped my entire career is because thankfully, I was reading a really good book at the time, right when I was graduating during this economic crisis, not a lot of job prospects. I was reading the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Yeah. And a lot of people have different takeaways from that book. But what resonated with me was this concept that your success is highly dependent on your environment. It's not as much about you as it is about when you were born, where you were born, like what resources you had at your disposal. And there was this study done between cohorts of people that were born between 1900 and 1905, and then 1905 to 1910. And there were significantly different levels of prosperity among those two cohorts. And it had nothing to do with the individuals. This is data of the masses. And it was just clearly saying that one group did way better than the other. And it was, why is that? And the reasoning or the theory behind it is that it was the Great Depression. It's that one group of people were graduating right when they should be hitting the ground running, getting that job, building their careers right into the Great Depression. Yeah. And that had dramatic long-term effects. So more than just, you didn't have a job, it also changed their long-term expectations about their life, about what they expected in life. Yeah. So I'm reading this in 2008.
You're like, well, I'm screwed.
And I'm like, oh my God, I got to get out of here. So I actually decided to move to China. So I went to mainland China in Jiangxi, Nanchang. I found this, I say remote, but it's still a city of 8 million people. But it's a city that you don't, normally go to.
They do cities different over there.
Yeah, the scale is different. So I'm going to the capital city of Jiangxi. I'm like one of the only white guys there. And I'm totally immersing myself to learn Chinese. And the whole concept behind it was I want to go somewhere that's growing, somewhere where there's economic opportunity, somewhere where there's cultural, experience that I can gain. So even if I don't, make it big or anything, I'm developing skills. I'm developing language skills. I'm developing experience. Fast forward a few years, I was doing all sorts of stuff. I was becoming a performing artist. I was playing guitar in big stadiums and singing, and I got into hosting, signed a record label deal with a Beijing media company, and was acting. I was up in Northwest China with Uyghurs, Muslims, learning about their culture. And then I was also doing, guitar concerts in Hainan on the beach. So it was a wide spectrum of experience. Very good experience. And I ended up marrying my wife in 2014 in Sichuan province and we started a company. That company is called PAPP'S Tea. We still run it today. It's one of my main sources of income. We sell modern tea products to restaurants and hotels throughout mainland China. We're in currently over 400 locations, mostly to Western cafe chains, places like Wagas or Blue Frog, as well as some high-end hotels like East Hotel in Beijing. So that is the entrepreneurial spirit in me, and all of those. I mean, sure, there was a lot of I'm breezing through this history real fast, but there was a lot of ups and downs. But eventually, we created a stable business, got venture capital funding from a VC firm in Shanghai, and that has led me to make money. And then, as we made money, we started buying real estate, and we started getting into apartments in Beijing. We also got a villa in Thailand, in Phuket. We also then started buying property here in California. Did a total rebuild of a property, did a flip for a luxury location in West Hollywood. So I was getting my hands into a lot of different components of real estate, which has eventually then led me to realizing, oh my God, I love running my tea business, and the pandemic really kind of sealed it for me that I needed to step away from China. The draconian lockdowns for me were way too intense. I couldn't travel freely. So I run that business fully remote now. So my tea business is still going, but I run it from California. And I've just been going head on into real estate since then. And that's how I met Tyler. And that's how we started buying property abroad, realizing that there was so much more wealth to be generated and a lot more excitement in what we're doing by investing out of country where there's high ROI opportunities, and you get to travel and we get to see places and experience things. And I'm going to pass the mic to Tyler. I know that was a long intro, but I think it was relevant.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
for sure. That is it makes sense why you're investing abroad, because you have all that abroad experience. There's a lot that we can go into this. Tyler, I want to hear your story before we kind of dive to the next level of detail. So tell us, how did you get started?
Well, I'm a little bit younger than Martin, so I haven't got quite the amount of experience that he does. So my intro will be a bit shorter than that. But I got into real estate very young through my father, actually. So he was a professional athlete, and then started running a company, and then was doing real estate on the side. And I was always sort of in and around what for him was a hobby was real estate, buying and fixing up places and flipping them. And that kind of got me super interested and involved in the actual process of it, and sort of kickstarted for me a career into civil construction. So
okay.
I was up and down the east coast of Australia with a civil construction company, and we were doing everything from single family homes all the way up to, government contracts, high rise buildings and basements, and all aspects of real estate developments, from 0 to 100. And I was, in that for the better part of 7 years, and just completely obsessed with it. Loved it. I loved the chaos of a job site. I loved running around. I loved organizing contractors. I loved just how much is going on. And it just was something that I couldn't get away from. So I started doing my own developments on the side. I had a team in Australia who, what I did was I started traveling, and they were doing developments for me. So that everything from land acquisition all the way through to construct, build, lease it out, and then the eventual sale into other properties, all being done just from phone calls and emails from me as I'm sort of, traveling around the world. And that was kind of where I ran into Martin. We both had this super extensive travel experience, plus a wealth of knowledge and experience in real estate, sort of doing stuff from all over. And our passions are in dealing with other cultures, with other people, finding the right places, and finding, and combining all of that to create an experience. And it's kind of led us to a point now where sitting on the Real Estate Investing Club podcast. So
there you go, the pinnacle of achievement.
yeah.
Well, right on, man. I mean, your guys' stories are so unique. And that's, I mean, one of the reasons I love real estate is that everybody that I talk to in this industry, they have a really unique and interesting story to tell. So let's talk about, what you guys do. You focus on luxury rentals out of the country, and the country we're talking about here is the US. So internationally from the US. I have always been attracted to that idea of buying a short-term rental. I personally focus on self-storage and mobile home RV parks. But I've always wanted to buy a short-term rental on a beach in Costa Rica or something like that.
We could do a live deal on right now if you want. If you want to commit, we can make this happen right now.
Let's do it. Let's get this done. No, so the thing that has always kind of not pushed me away from it, but made me think that it would be more of a headache than I think it would be, is dealing with local laws, local customs, and building a team. Like, anytime you buy real estate, even if it's a single family, you got to have a team there to help you operate it. And so the thing that's prevented me from actually achieving my dream of buying a short-term rental in Costa Rica is this idea that it will be the understanding the customs, the local laws, getting permitting done, all that kind of stuff is just prohibitive when you're doing it out of state. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me how you guys do it when you are buying the properties that you're buying. Before we continue on with today's guest, I want to tell you guys about a community I'm launching on School to help investors like yourself grow your own portfolio. In this community, you'll get access to all the docs I use, all the systems I've built, everything I've used to grow my own portfolio, as well as instructions and guidance on how to get out there and find great deals, how to finance those deals, and then how to manage them for great returns. Since we're just launching it, the price will be set at a measly $20 per month, and whatever price you join at is the price you'll have for life. We will be increasing the price as the group grows, so if you're at all interested in growing your portfolio along other investors, now is the time to join. I will put the link somewhere in the bio or on our podcast website at therealestateinvestingclub.com, so if you are interested, head on over there. With that said, let's get back to the podcast.
Well, I totally agree with you that that is not something I'd recommend just someone to randomly, walk through a Remax store and buy a rental when they're on vacation in another country if you haven't done your research and if you're not prepared to put the time into it. But that kind of going back to our origin stories is this is what we love to do. Yeah. So we don't see it as work. We see it as a way to spend my life, is to be able to do the groundwork, to do that groundwork where you go, you learn the local customs. Obviously, you'll never learn it like a true native, but you can get to the point where you understand the property laws, you understand the building process. You really leverage relationships, working with people that know the business down there. And that's kind of the legwork that Tyler and I do. And so we make it possible through our syndication, through our real estate fund, for people like yourself that want to have those kind of properties, but they themselves don't have the time to go and manage this. So that's where our value add comes in. That's what Tyler and I do. And I'm sure Tyler could go into a little detail about that process of what that looks like.
Yeah.
Before that, let's start at the very top. How do you guys decide on the country that you want to invest in?
There's a pretty big process for us, and it's really just a big funnel that continues to come down. Laws for foreigners is probably the biggest one. So how easy is it for us to come in there and do what we want to do, and then how much tourism is going into that country. So for us, without going through all the other countries right now, Costa Rica is super favorable. I mean, they are absolutely booming in terms of tourism. All of the 4- and 5-star resorts, the Waldorf Astorias, the Four Seasons, all of these companies have been funneling money down there for the last 3 to 5 years. And as a foreigner or as a gringo, you're able to go down there and pretty much have the same rights as a local there in developing in developing property. We can go and buy land, we can own that land outright. And then the big thing is, I think a lot of it is how you set yourself up. So if you go in there as a foreigner and you don't care about the country and you just want to see how much money you can pull, then it's going to be hard no matter what country you go to. But if you're going in there with the opposite of that, and it's like, how much money can I push into this country? How many people can I employ? How many people can I bring onto the team? And how much can I amplify this in this country? It takes on a very different effect. And then you couple that with booming tourism, you couple that with high prices, you couple that with incredible foreigner, regulations. It's just a home run.
Yeah. I'll jump in a little bit too, just to add a few more things. We definitely look for opportunities where there's low cost of build. And
you guys you build over buy. Is that right?
We don't buy. So we only do ground up.
Interesting.
We buy land, we develop that land. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are ways to be successful just buying, pre-existing rentals, doing some value add, renting them out, makes sense. But Tyler and I are chasing the highest ROI, and the highest ROI is by capitalizing on some arbitrage of where you can have low cost of build. So when we'll stick to Costa Rica because that's what we're focusing on. But this applies to a lot of places.
And sorry to jump in, I'm just questions are running through my mind. Is Costa Rica a metro or a country that you guys invest in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Currently investing 2024, planning on doing 12 properties down in Costa Rica. Well, eight, at least eight. The cost to build in a country like Costa Rica, even for luxury properties, so we're not talking just your typical single family home, something that's really nice is around $200 per square foot.
Okay.
Compared to that,
for luxury,
in California,
wow, that's actually cheap for luxury.
That's what I'm saying. Like compared to California, we easily be spending $600 per square foot, easy.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's the ability to build something really nice in these areas where the cost of labor and the cost of materials is still relatively inexpensive. But in a high tourist location with beach, with ocean views, where areas where foreigners are used to coming down and spending, luxury prices, you can create really good yield. So we're talking, you rent a place out for hundreds of dollars a night. You only had to build at a quarter of what it costs compared to the United States. You can generate yields of anywhere between 10 to 20%. Is not uncommon. And that was kind of the aha moment for me with my Thailand property versus trying to rent a condo in near John Wayne Airport in Orange County. And it was like night and day difference, the ROI.
Yeah.
So it's finding those places where you have good property rights, you have stable government, you have and then you have that low cost of build with a lot of touristic demand where you can charge luxury rental rates. That's the sweet spot for us. And Costa Rica hits all those points for us at this moment. But there's plenty of other areas to check out. I mean, Colombia is a great place to look at right now. A lot of areas in Southeast Asia, places like Bali, Thailand, there's tons of opportunities. We don't focus on Southeast Asia at the moment just because it's a little bit more complex with the property rights. Not as simple and straightforward as it is in Costa Rica. So we think Costa Rica is a good
to get over there.
Yeah. Well, for Tyler,
which is normal for me.
Yeah.
12 hours is actually all right.
Right. So we think there's a lot of places where this model works. Costa Rica for us is a good, I think a good baby step. It's a little bit sexier, a little bit more interesting, more development happening than I think in Mexico. But it's not too far from the US. Very straightforward property laws. And we're all in on Costa Rica for 2024, but we have a brand that we're building where we see expansion into Bali, into Thailand. I was in Thailand all last summer. Tyler was in Bali just a few months ago. So we've already built teams down there, already scouting properties. We even put in some offers on some land. So we're really looking at creating a global network of these luxury properties, and we're bringing on investors to create an entire brand of these spaces that provide passive income, and then we can host investor events, parties every year, but we really
As
want
a
to create a
nice little
lifestyle
benefit.
brand out of this, because Tyler and I, we know that we could probably make money doing apartments or multifamily in Texas.
Self-storage, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, like we get that. It's there. But for us, the drive for us is like, how can I pursue a passion and a lifestyle that fulfills me every day, and we're still making good money?
No,
That's
you
where we
have to
came up
sell
with the
me.
No House.
I get why you want to build luxury hotels in Thailand. I get it. So when I look for new properties, if I look for self-storage, mobile home RV, first thing I do, I only buy off market generally. So I will send letters, I will send hire cold callers, do texting. That's how I find my properties. You guys are looking for land. Do you guys do direct mail campaigns to get your deals, or are you only going through brokers?
You don't even have addresses like you do in the U.S. in Costa Rica. So
there you go.
people give you
you're an
directions
American
by
right here. It's all good.
People give you directions by landmarks.
I was going to say, if you ask me like the addresses of some of our properties, I will just tell you the road that they're on and roughly how far along that road.
We send geo coordinates, so we have Google coordinates of where all our properties are.
Do they? I mean, they still have parcel numbers, correct? Or how are they doing? What are you buying when you buy this land?
Yeah, I
suppose that answer probably
we might have
brings up a
scared
lot of
people
questions.
too quickly there. Apologies. So everything is titled. Everything has a land title. Everything has a track number. And that's all at the municipality level. So I do want to be clear. We're not going into a failed state kind of system where there's lawlessness. We want to go places where we want to go places where that are got a stable government, stable property rights. And so all of that's there. But you have to remember that, yes, this is still a developing country. So a lot of the things that you might do in the US don't quite apply all the time like a mail campaign would. People are definitely more using things like WhatsApp to communicate. And it's really relationship based. So for us, it's going down there.
Heavily relationship based.
So for us, it's going down. And what we usually start with is we do a top down approach. And Tyler's always really good at explaining this. So feel free to jump in. But buying the property is the last thing we do. The first thing we do is we find the right attorney. We find a lawyer that deals with high net worth individuals, that deals with international customers. And then we also decide on a location, an area, by using data. We use AirDNA is a great resource to kind of see what's growing, what's popping, historical results. We then also speak with developers and architects in the country, because they also are the ones that are plugged in. They know where things are being built. They know my favorite question I love is finding a great architect find it through Pinterest, through online, whatever. They're promoting beautiful properties. You can find who they are. And then you ask them, hey, if you were going to do what we're doing, where would you be investing? And they have the answers. They know where to go. They'll tell you what's overpriced and what's not, and where you see a lot of opportunity in the next 5 years. So a lot of it is going. That's what we mean by top down, is that we put the team together. We know the architects, the contractor, the lawyer. The lawyers also know which property agents are the best ones to work with, because they know who's doing all the good deals, who does them well. And then once
this is another kind of naive question, but do they have title and escrow companies down there, or everything's closed through a lawyer? How do you do the closing process?
It's all country to country. So different countries have different laws, but yes, in Costa Rica, it's the same. You have escrow, you have title, you have all of the same processes that you would experience in the United States for the most part. That would be different in Thailand. In Thailand, there's no escrow, so you have to kind of do a pseudo escrow through your lawyer. But anyway, that's for the next podcast. But then once we have that team, we're also sending messages to Airbnb hosts. So we set up interviews with hosts of Airbnb properties, of property managers of hotels, and we will get firsthand accounts of like, what are some of the unexpected costs that we might not foresee if we were going to do this down here. And you'd be surprised how many people are very open to talk to you about it. Most people, well, I don't know if most people is the right word, but there's always going to be a few people that love to share their story, and a few people that would love to help. And you kind of have to just, it's a volume game where you maybe get 10 people that don't want to talk to you, but there's always going to be a great gem that's like, and generally speaking, property managers of Airbnbs or boutique hotels are great, because they see you as a potential partner, saying,
Mm.
oh, hey, like if you build this in this area, like I can run it for you.
Yeah.
And so you build that team, and then at the very end, let's go find a property. Let's go find a lot. And that helps mitigate 95% of all the risks up front, because we're not buying a place that doesn't have water, that doesn't have the utilities, or the title isn't right, because all of those things are being pre-qualified before we put an offer on a property.
Yep, that makes sense. One of the scariest things about building or even flipping houses is getting, it's just getting bad contractors. I've dealt with so many bad contractors in my days that I'm very wary of hiring any GC or like any contractor. Essentially, I need a really, really great reviews for me to take on somebody new onto my team. How do you guys go about vetting your contractors when you do go out of country?
This one, what's interesting about these other countries in terms of contractors, and this goes across the board, not just in GCs, but in management, everything, is everyone wants to keep it in their family. So
Okay.
if you speak with someone, you might speak with a guy named Adam, and Adam is your architect. And then you're like, okay, I'm looking for a GC. And he'll be like, my cousin's a general contractor. You should speak to him. Or he won't even say that, but then you'll find out that it is his cousin.
Right.
And it kind of, they try and keep, when one person eats, everyone eats. And we see that as the quickest path to failure, because it's not based on skill. It's not about
his cousin might suck.
Well, for the most part, they tend to. So that's one way not to do it, but it's the one way that most people do it, just because that's the way that the culture works. So for us, it's about taking an unbiased approach. And again, I know we keep harping on about team, but that's really where it comes from for us. So it's like, who are the top legals in the country and who are the top architects in the country? And then based on what they've done in the past, let's look at all the general contractors that they've used. Let's look at the most high-performing assets that they have produced over the last 3 to 5 years, and let's take those general contractors from them. Let's look at reviews from the legal team. Let's look at everything they've done, and then from there move into a relationship. But there's really only two ways of doing it in these countries, and 90% of people will be funneled down the first route. And if you are going down to other countries and there's one piece of advice to take away, it's that one.
Nice.
It's really no different than the United States. Like it's just about putting in the time to do due diligence, putting the time to not just take the first bid that comes at you. It's about calling references.
Cheapest. Definitely not the cheapest.
Yeah, it's about calling references. And so that's why I love real estate, because it's not rocket science. It's really just about putting the effort in, taking it seriously, and these things work. Like I'm sure we've all know some people that are uber wealthy from real estate, and they're not the smartest tool in the shed per se. Like that, and that's the beauty of what we're doing, is that this is something that can be done if you put your mind to it. And so for Tyler and I, all of these risks that you're talking about, that's our effort. That's where we go in and we make sure that this is going to be done properly. Because you're right, if you just hire the first GC or just somebody that's recommended from somebody, and that's all you do, that's you're taking a huge risk of this not going as well.
Yep. Right on, guys. This is, as I mentioned, a short podcast. We're way past 20 minutes, but it's my podcast, so I get to decide. I am going to move us on. If I were to summarize, people out there listening, they want to start developing their own property internationally. After hearing everything you guys said, if I were to summarize the top things that you would recommend somebody do, it would be all relationship based, and it would be find a good lawyer and find a good architect, and then work down from there. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Perfect.
That is the be all and end all of a sentence.
There you go. All right, then I'm going to take that opportunity to push us on to the quick question round. You guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. It starts with books or any form of education. Could be movies, could be Netflix shows, YouTube channels, whatever. Ooh. Give me 2 recommendations, one for general life wisdom and then one for real estate. Martin, I'm gonna push it to you. You start.
My favorite book that I've read in the last couple of years, actually probably 3 years now, I highly recommend it, and I think it applies to all things, but is Sapiens. It's a book by Yuval Harari, I think is how you pronounce it. But it's an excellent book about the evolution of humans, not just at the rudimentary level, but all the way up to political systems, financial systems, and I got such a better grasp of how people work, how money works, and I would say that that's an excellent book. Highly recommend it. Obviously, Outliers was a good one.
Yeah,
that changed my life. Real estate centric books. I'll have to admit I don't really read real estate centric books at the moment. Mostly just do the YouTubes and the podcasts. So I'm going to pass on that one. I would hate to give a random advice without really knowing
that's
which
fine.
ones.
We'll push that one to Tyler. Tyler, you got to answer that because we got to have one for each.
Well, that's no good because I was going to do the same thing. I actually avoid real estate books, funnily enough,
to muddle your strategy. I like that.
Well, I'm just a big experienced guy. I just think that I tend to get wrapped up in education when I start. In terms of books, the last 2-3 years have been a big Alex Hormozi phase, which I mean, is anyone not in that phase? I feel like a basic white girl who's like at Starbucks right now being like, Alex Hormozi.
Yeah, no, he's good.
But yeah, he's a straight shooter, and I'm a big fan of his reading. In terms of real estate, I am going to say our PPMs and offering documents that are being drafted to us. There you go. Those are the
first person to say that. And they're
the real estate books and writings that we read the most, and I think that we learn the most out of those.
Fair enough. I like that one. All right, I'm going to move us on to the next question. This is for your younger self. So let's go back to the younger Tyler, the younger Martin, who had no experience in real estate. Go back to those versions of yourself, look them in the eye, and give them one piece of advice moving forward. Tyler, you start this one.
Okay. Go bigger, quicker would be the one piece for me. I mean, it's always the one thing, but it's just looking back, I wasted so many years trying to I'm doing air quotes here for anyone listening, trying to build into my real estate experience. And it's just so silly because I was only doing that because other people were telling me and because it seems like the normal way to do it. But you can go massive from day one and it's actually safer. So that's what I would say.
I like that you added that on the end. It's actually safer because when I got started in self-storage, and I've repeated this story on the podcast a few times. I started really small. I wanted to buy a small facility because I wanted to make, I wanted to cut my teeth on small properties. But it's the worst decision you can make because the thing that people don't talk about for small properties, sure, there's less money that you can lose, but they also have a lower gross income, which means when you make mistakes in the management, in the rehab, all of your profits are wiped out. Your NOI is very low. Your NOI is, a couple thousand a month. If if one door breaks, that's all of your NOI for that month. And so you don't want to go small. You want to go big because you have higher grosser income and you can make mistakes and you can absorb those mistakes in your NOI. That
I got an analogy for you that switched it for me, and it's business. So real estate's a business, no matter what you're in, industrial, self-storage, rentals, whatever, it's a business. And if I said to you, hey, do you want to buy a business? And you said, yeah, I'd love to. Tell me about it. And I said, oh, the business is, I've got one client. We're doing about $25,000 a year. And I've got about $22,000 of expenses. I'm like, okay, it's not very profitable. And I've got one client and I could lose them on any given day. Do you want to buy the business? You'd be like, pick rocks, get out of here. But that's real estate. That's buying a single family home or a duplex or a triplex or one of something or two of something. It doesn't make any sense. But for some reason, when you're learning, we're led to believe this fallacy that that's how you get started.
It's the fear thing. It's like it's scary because you're looking at a property that's $10 million, has a $10 million valuation. You're like, I could be $10 million in debt if I make a mistake, but that's not really how it works. I mean, you do 100%. Correct underwriting. You make sure that you're making a good decision. But then that $10 million, property has a big NOI that can really safeguard you from the mistakes that you could make. Martin, I'm gonna push it back to you, and I can't even remember the question we were on. What question did I ask you?
Is
Advice to younger self.
advice to your
Yes, there
younger
you go.
self? Um, advice to my younger self. I don't know if that's exactly the way I'd phrase it, but definitely advice for younger people that I think is really, really helped me a lot is having good partners. Don't be afraid.
Make me feel bad. Go on.
Doing anything entrepreneurial is scary, and it requires a lot of emotional strength, and that emotional strength is so hard to have if you do everything by yourself. And I really, really strongly recommend finding a good partner. For my travels in China, in starting a tea company there, I couldn't have done it without my wife. No way I could have done it without her.
Yeah.
With what I'm doing with real estate, buying property abroad and traveling and doing all this, there's no way I could do this without Tyler. There's no way. So I would lose the greedy lens. Like, don't be greedy. Share, find good people, and both you can be so much more successful when you work with when you work with the right person.
Yeah.
That's to be clear. I said find a good partner, or if it's partners, maybe just two more. Like, you don't want to create a whole like committee
Too many cooks in the kitchen,
right off the start. But you need that emotional support. You need that person where when you're having a down day, they can lift you up. When you need a vent, you have somebody that you can talk to, and that changes everything. Makes everything move so much better.
Yeah. And I would say it also helps you make better decisions, because I was solo for a while, and when you're running solo, it's very easy to change your mind, and then you can automatically make the action that makes that a thing. But if you don't have anybody that you're talking with that can kind of balance, if you're in your own head, your thoughts are bouncing off
speaking in an echo
thoughts.
chamber as well.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
When you have a partner, it kind of levels your decision making, so you're not only talking to yourself about what you should be doing.
100%.
It does require a certain level of emotional intelligence, I believe, because I think that I have realized, on your point, Martin, about partners, I don't think I would have been capable of having a partner when I was starting out in real estate. Yet today, I'm like, I don't know how I would do it without one, particularly Martin. So I think that there's a certain level of like, you need to learn to drop your ego. You need to learn to share. You need to learn to take feedback. You need to learn to sometimes take really hard feedback, and like all of these different things. And I think that as you grow as a person, and if you can do that with a partner, it's limitless. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. And the easiest way to drop your ego is get out there, start getting things done, and eventually you're going to fail. It's going to happen to all y'all. There's no way around it. So just get out there and start doing things. All right, moving us on. The next question is about finding deals. It all starts with getting in contact with the seller and writing up a purchase agreement. So what's your favorite way to generate leads and find new deals?
I think that we kind of already went over this one with ours. For us, it's not, we don't have an issue with leads in terms of deals. For us, it's a speed thing in terms of getting things done.
I will say this is a unique question for us because it's very different out of country. One thing I'll say that's a point to make is a lot of these countries don't have MLS systems.
Oh, okay.
So you need to be real careful that you don't pigeonhole yourself by only working with one property agent or one realtor. And realtors in a lot of these other countries don't have the same level of training or regulation that you might see in the United States. And so if you're looking at places, I highly recommend that you can meet some great realtors. Don't get me wrong, but don't be afraid and recognize that you might want to spread your wings a little bit and have contact with multiple realtors, because they're going to show you different deals, because everybody has a different set of clients, a different set of contacts. And it's not as simple as in the United States where you just have a Zillow or an MLS and everybody can see everything that's available. And so it becomes this big search for off market. And it's like, it's not really the same in places like Thailand or Costa Rica.
And there's no exclusivity rights either. like there is in the US, where
Oh,
when you work
okay.
with an agent, you
Yeah.
work with that agent. Whereas in these other countries, every agent only has the properties that they have as clients. So they can only show you what they have. So
Right.
you're working with as many agents as you can to see as many properties, and that's considered normal.
That's interesting. It's also interesting they don't have an MLS. I wonder if
Yeah, I
that'll
know. I
change at some
know.
point, but
Costa Rica actually is developing their MLS as we speak. So I was actually in Costa Rica 2 weeks ago with the treasurer of the Costa Rica Realtors Association, and they are creating one. So these things are happening. We're just, every country is at a different stage of development, and that's the beauty of opportunity, though. At the same time, is that the United States is so competitive. It's those fine margins you were talking about. If you get one thing wrong, like things can go a mess,
yeah.
amiss. And that's what we love about working in developing countries. Is yes, there is some unknowns and things are still being worked out, but that also is where more meat on the bone is. There's more opportunity because things maybe a property isn't priced correctly,
not as efficient
and not
as a
everybody has
market,
seen
yeah.
this property. These everything becomes an off-market deal in a sense.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunity if you take the time to go do some research down there or work with us.
There you go. Shortcut it. All right. Second to last question, and this is always good for partners, because usually partners come together because they have different strengths. So we all are provided with a strength that we uniquely provide this world. So what is each of your individual Superman strengths? And Tyler, I'm gonna have you start this one off.
I'm gonna switch it up on you here, Gabe. I'm going to tell you what Martin's strength is, and Higgins going to tell you what mine is.
There you go. I like it.
So that we don't have to be so biased. Because I would say, obviously, that my greatest strength is how dashingly handsome
How good
I am.
looking I am. I knew you were going to say that.
I would say Martin's ability. I think Martin's superhuman ability is to be able to remain composed at all times. So, no, like, I'm a very emotional guy, and that's where Martin comes in. He's like, we might be seeing a deal, and I'm like, this is the best deal ever, and Martin's like, this is terrible, and this is why X, Y, and Z. And when work needs to get done, if we've got a super busy day, and I'm like, running around like a headless chicken, Martin's just hits his marks, and it's unbelievable to watch someone move through life just so composed and stoic, and it's a superhuman strength that I admire, that I'm trying to pull it from him to take some for myself.
There you go. I love it. All right, Martin,
Yes.
let's hear what is Tyler's Superman strength.
Thank you, Tyler. That was really nice of you.
Are we gonna can we say some tears? Can we say some tears? Just one, please.
That's a pretty touching moment. Tyler is very driven, and I admire how driven he is, and that comes with that is self-discipline. He's incredibly focused at a young age. When I was in my 20s, as I said, I was all over the place, and it took me a while to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. And Tyler, in some ways, has superhuman maturity. That he's really focused about what he wants. He's able to do goal setting. He's gotten me on the bandwagon of learning how to optimize myself, be more efficient with my time, and he's a bundle of positive, go-getting kind of energy. And that's where I was talking about the emotional support. Is like, I have my down days, and like somehow Tyler can keep that boat afloat by always just pushing us forward. And I really appreciate that about him. And that's why it's such a pivotal relationship, is that he drives us. He drives that rudder.
There you go.
I appreciate you a lot.
The best sales pitch for why y'all need a partner out there. If you guys are doing it solo, you're missing out. You need partners. Martin and Tyler are the prime example of why this is, because they're having a blast together. So I'm going to leave that as the last question. And that leads us to the very, very last question. This is for the listeners. You guys have given us a ton to think about. I'm sure people want to reach out, get in contact with you, maybe start investing in your international projects. So this is a two-parter. Where can they find you? And then what can they expect when they reach out?
Go ahead, Tyler.
I'll go. I think the best place to find us would be our website, which is thenovahouse.com, and that is spelled THENOVAHAUS.com. House is the German spelling. There is no story behind it, just looks cooler. And that would probably be the best place to reach out. We are very public on socials. You can find us, Tyler Jordan, Martin Papp, Nova House on any
LinkedIn.
socials.
LinkedIn's a good one for me.
LinkedIn's a good one. And what can they expect from us is a whole load of communication and transparency. That is the two stigmas that we're really trying to break in the real estate industry, is trying to make sure that everyone who comes on board understands what they're getting on board with to a degree that they're completely comfortable with, and then continuing to communicate and being transparent about everything that's happening, because we don't want investors. We want highly educated investors. And if we can educate them on how we're doing things and everything, then it's a win-win for everyone.
Perfect. All right. I will put those links in the show notes. So if you guys want to reach out, just click the little more in the description. It'll pull down that full description. And in there, you can find Martin and Tyler's links. With that, it wraps it up, guys. Thank you very much for hopping on the show.
Thank
you. You're
This was
incredible.
awesome.
You're an incredible host. You bring a whole lot of energy.
I appreciate it. For everybody who's here with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever, reach out to me, Gabe, at therealestateinvestingclub.com. If you want to support the show, just give us a review on Apple or whatever you listen to this on. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Cheers.
All right, before I officially sign off, I have a quick announcement to make. If you're interested in becoming a passive investor in one of my deals, my own company, Kaizen Properties, is looking for capital partners for our upcoming projects. We invest in what are known as recession-resistant assets, mainly self-storage facilities, mobile home and RV parks, and industrial properties. If you're interested in investing and would like to learn a little bit more about my company, our investing criteria, and some of the previous projects we've done, go to the Real Estate Investing Club podcast at therealestateinvestingclub.com and scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. Click on the Invest With Us button. That'll pop up the investor form. Fill that out, and we will reach back out to you as soon as we can. Or if you prefer a little bit more of a personal touch, you can reach out to me at gabe@therealestateinvestingclub.com. So really, that is it. Again, it was a pleasure hanging out with you guys during this episode, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.